welcome to the Blindfold Chess Podcast.
In Season 1, we looked at one of the Polgar sisters, Susan. Today, we are looking at the youngest sister of the three, Judit Polgar. I need you to mentally prepare yourself for a large list of records and milestones. Judit was born in 1976 in Hungary as the youngest of her two other siblings, Susan and Sophia. They grew up as part of an educational experiment carried out by their dad, Laszlo Polgar, with the hypothesis of geniuses are made, not born. The philosophy was to have the children focus on a specialized skill, chess, a game historically dominated by men, to show that anyone could prove excellence in any skill if they put the work in from a young age. This type of philosophy was met with quite a bit of resistance from the Hungarian government and others, arguing this experiment deprived the girls of a normal childhood. Growing up, Judit was trained by both her father and her sister, who was 7 years her senior. Judit began playing in tournaments when she was 6 years old. The following year, she and her sister Sophia played 2 blindfold games against 2 masters that the sisters won. In 1986, at the age of 10, Judit beat her first international master. In 1987, the next year, she defeated her first grandmaster. 1988 was quite a busy year for Judit. In April, she earned her first international master norm in the New York Open. In August, she won the Under-12 boys section of the World Youth Chess and Peace Festival in Romania for her second norm. In October, she finished first in a 10-person round-robin tournament in London with a half-point lead over Grandmaster Kreidman for her third norm. Those 3 norms earned her her international title at the age of 12, the youngest player in history to do so. The previous record was at the age of 14 when both Garry Kasparov and Bobby Fischer did it. Growing up, there was a strong push to have the girls not play in women-only events. Their father had written, quote, "Women are able to achieve similar results in fields of intellectual activities to that of men. Chess is a form of intellectual activity, so this applies to chess. Accordingly, we reject any kind of discrimination in this respect." End quote. Throughout their career, the sisters ran into sexism and bureaucracy problems when competing in men's events. The oldest sibling needed to earn 11 norms before receiving her grandmaster title, when the typical threshold was 3. At the end of 1988, Judit and her sisters tried to participate in the 28th Chess Olympiad in the men's division, but the International Chess Federation would not permit them. Instead, they participated in the women's division, consisting of Board 1, Susan Polgar, Board 2, Judit Polgar, Board 3, Ideko Madel, and Board 4, Sofia Polgar. Judit finished with the highest tournament score of 12.5 out of 13, a performance rating of 2694, the Brilliancy Prize, and Hungary won first place, marking the first time in the women's Olympiad history where it was not won by the Soviet Union. In the published ratings of January 1989, Judit, age 12, was rated 2555, number 55 on the world list, and 35 points ahead of the women's world champion Maya Chiburdandzi. This is the start of her reign at the top of the women's rating leaderboard. The British chess magazine commented, quote, "Judit Polgar's results make the performances of Fischer and Kasparov at a similar age pale by comparison." End quote. GM Nigel Short remarked, quote, "One of the 3 or 4 greatest chess prodigies in history." And then Grandmaster David Norwood described Judit as, quote, "This cute little auburn-haired monster who crushed you." End quote. The following year, she participated and won the Under-14 Boys World Youth Chess Festival, and she and her sisters, occupying boards 1, 2, and 3, participated in the 1990 Women's Olympiad, winning the gold medal. This was the last women-only tournament that Judit would ever participate in. In 1991, Judit shattered several records by achieving her Grandmaster title after winning the Hungarian National Championship. At the age of 15 years and 4 months, she beat Bobby Fischer's record by a month, a record that had stood for 33 years. She was the fourth woman to become a Grandmaster, behind Gaprindashvili, Chiburdandasi, and her older sister, Susan Polgar. Judit beat Susan's record of being the youngest woman Grandmaster by 7 years. In 1993, she played an exhibition match against former world champion Boris Spassky, winning 5.5 to 4.5. Later in the year, she became the first woman to qualify for the interzonal tournament, finishing in a 4-way tie, narrowly missing the qualifications for the candidates tournament. That same year, Bobby Fischer stayed with the Polgars, while Fischer had an arrest warrant out on him in the United States. A blitz match between Judit and Fischer was scheduled, but Fischer canceled the match. When asked why he canceled, Fischer said, quote, "They're Jewish." 1994 saw Judit winning the Madrid International with a performance rating of 2778. In the published ratings of January 1996, Judit became the only woman ever to be ranked in the top 10 chess players in the world. 1998 was a busy year. In January, she played in the Vikonsay tournament in the Netherlands, with the world's top 14 grandmasters playing. She finished in the middle of the pack with Karpov, Topalov, and Jeroen Peckett. During the tournament, she gave Anand his only loss of the tournament. In June, she played an 8-game match against world champion Anatoly Karpov, where she won 5-3. In August, she became the first woman to win the US Open with a record of 8-1. In November, she tied for first with Anand in the Wydra Memorial Rapid Tournament with a record of 11.5 out of 14. And then in 2000, she won the Japfa Classic, featuring players like Karpov and Kalifman, who was the current FIDE world champion at the time. She won the Siegman and Company tournament. She tied for first at the Najdorf Chess Festival. And to round out the year, she participated on board 3 of the Hungarian national team in the Olympiad, finishing with a record of 10 out of 13 and a performance rating of 2772. In June 2001, she finished 4th in a 13-round Swiss system tournament featuring 143 grandmasters and 38 international masters. The next year, she beat Garry Kasparov in a game which she commented, quote, "one of the most remarkable moments of my career," end quote. It was the first time a female player had beaten the world's #1 player. Later in the year, she assisted in securing the silver medal for the Hungarian Olympiad team. The team lost 1 game out of the 56 that they played and gave the winning team, Russia, their only defeat in the tournament. In early 2003, she finished 2nd in the Vikonsay tournament, a half point behind Anand, and a full point ahead of the world champion Kramnik, and in that tournament she also defeated Karpov. 2005, she participated in the World Chess Championship, an 8-player round-robin tournament with the winner becoming the world champion. She ended up coming in 8th in that tournament. In May, she reached her peak rating of 2735, establishing her as the number 8 ranked player in the world and becoming the first woman to break the 2700 rating barrier. 2006, she scored 5th in the World Blitz Championship. The next month, she tied for first in the double round-robin Essent chess tournament with 2 wins against Topalov, the world #1 player. In December, she played a 6-game blindfold match against Topalov, losing 3.5 to 2.5. 2007, she participated in the Candidates tournament, losing in the first round. That same year, she played in the Blindfold World Cup, finishing in 4th. 2009, she played in the FIDE World Cup, where she was knocked out by the eventual winner, Boris Gelfand, giving Gelfand his only loss of the tournament. 2011, she finished in a 4-way tie of first at the European Individual Championship, featuring 393 players, including 167 grandmasters, becoming the first woman to finish in the top 3. At the Chess World Cup that same year, she finished in the top 8 players of the 128-player knockout tournament, along the way defeating the number 1 seed Sergei Karyakin. In 2012, Judit played in the Gibraltar tournament, and for the first time in 22 years, she lost a classical game to a female, the current women's world champion Ho Yifan. In 2014, Judit announced her retirement from chess. This ended her 25-year streak of being the top-rated woman player in the world that started in January of 1989. Post-retirement, she became the new captain and head coach of the men's national team of Hungary. She wrote 3 books and focused on the Judit Polgar Chess Foundation. In case that wasn't enough, here are a couple of rapid-fire awards that she has earned. The Hungarian Order of Merit, the Hungarian Order of St. Stephen, the Hungarian Chess Player of the Year 19 times, a member of the Association of Immortal Hungarian Athletes, European Chess Legend, World Chess Hall of Fame, the FIDE Icon Award, the FIDE 100 Award for the Best Player in the Women category, an 8-time Chess Oscar winner, and a FIDE Kasaya Award winner. During her career, she never competed for the Women's World Championship, but she is the only woman to have won 11 games against reigning world number 1, current or former world champions, including Carlsen, Karpov, Kasparov, Kramnik, Spassky, Smyslov, Topalov, Anand, Ponomaryov, Khalifman, and Kasimjanov. This week, we are traveling back to the Olympiad of 2002, where Team Hungary lost 1 game out of the 56 that they played. Judit Polgar versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. Now, if we're ready, let's begin.
1. Pawn to e4. Pawn to e5. Two, knight f3. Knight c6. Three, bishop b5. Pawn to a6. Four, bishop a4. Knight f6. Five, castle kingside. Knight captures e4. Six, pawn to d4.
This dives a little bit into the theory of the Ruy Lopez, but why would white play pawn to d4 instead of trying to recapture the pawn by playing like a Petrov idea of rook to e1 or bishop captures c6 followed by knight captures e5? Why is d4 superior? In fact, in this position, 97% of the time, white plays the move pawn to d4. Sometimes the rook is a little misplaced on e1, and that allows black to retreat the knight to c5, which targets the white bishop that is on a4, so white is going to have to trade it off. And if white were to play bishop captures c6 followed by knight captures e5, that's opening up the center of the board, allowing black to easily catch up in development as well as attack the unsupported knight on e5. So playing the pawn to d4, it allows white more flexibility to figure out what they want to do with the position, as well as deprive black of the natural square that the bishop wants to go to, which is c5.
Pawn to b5. Seven, bishop b3. Pawn to d5. Eight, pawn d captures e5. Bishop e6. Nine, knight b to d2. Knight c5. Ten, pawn to c3. Pawn to d4. Eleven, knight g5.
What piece is supporting the knight that is on g5? That is a bit of a trick question. There is no piece supporting the knight on g5. Black very well could capture with queen captures g5. If black were to do that, white can respond with knight to e4, targeting the loose knight on c5, and the queen on g5, with both the knight on e4 and the bishop on c1.
Bishop d5. Twelve, knight captures f7. King captures f7. Thirteen, queen f3 check.
White has already sacrificed a knight for this attack. Is white also sacrificing a queen, since the bishop on d5 is targeting the queen on f3? The answer is no, because the bishop on b3 is pinning the bishop on d5 to the king on f7. So Judit is leveraging her pieces to maximize the pressure against Mamedyarov.
King e6. Fourteen, queen g4 check. King f7. Fifteen, queen f5 check. King e7. Sixteen, pawn to e6. Bishop captures e6. Seventeen, rook e1.
In black's camp, there is currently an undefended piece, as well as a piece that is suffering from extreme pressure. Which piece is undefended, and which piece is under pressure? The knight on c5 is currently undefended, whereas the bishop on e6 is currently targeted by 3 different white pieces and is only defended by 2.
Queen d6. Bishop captures e6. Knight captures e6. Knight e4. Queen e5. Bishop g5 check. King d7. Knight c5 check.
The move knight to c5 check allows for a discovered attack on what black piece? That would be the queen on e5. If black were to play a move like queen captures c5, then white has checkmate on the board with queen captures e6.
Bishop captures c5. Queen f7 check. King d6. Bishop e7 check. King d5. Black resigns.
White has a plethora of options. She could play rook captures e5 and win the queen. She could play bishop captures c5, but the most likely outcome would be queen to f3 check, queen to e4 blocking it, pawn to c4 check, pawn on b5 captures on c4, and then queen captures e4 checkmate. So instead of going for material, you could just mate the king in the middle of the board, surrounded by his own pieces. The youngest grandmaster, first woman in the top 10, first woman to break the 2700 rating barrier, first woman to play in the candidates tournament, and the top-ranked female player for 25 years. If anyone has any doubt of Judith's skills, her Wikipedia article has 15 citations for strongest female chess player of all time. That is all that we have for this week. Tune in next time, where we will continue to work on our blindfold skills and look at another game of the Masters.